Chapter 56. A New Hope. The clock in Lincoln Destin's bedroom glowed, 7 a.m., as Lincoln sprung out of bed. Summer vacation ended, and today was the first day of school. A lot had changed in the Destin household that summer. Phil was enjoying his work and doing great in his new leadership position at the paper plant. He convinced Jillian to quit her job and start her own business. They bought an old used food truck, and Jillian was now serving her delicious paninis all over town, and she was loving it. Verona was more relaxed. She even joined a summer softball league. She was very good. Her team had just won the Summer League championship, and Verona was named the most improved player. Through her activities, she had made a lot of new friends. She enjoyed going to the movies and hanging out at the mall with people her age for the first time in her life. But most notably, Lincoln seemed to be a whole new person. He was outgoing, funny, and confident. He made a bunch of friends in the neighborhood and around town. At night, he would spend hours hanging out and talking with his parents about all the fun he was having with his sister and his new friends, or any other thoughts that came to him. He even seemed to be a foot taller, even though he had only actually grown about a half-inch over the summer. Lincoln very much enjoyed his summer vacation after he helped save the world, but he was not disappointed that summer was ending, because for the first time in his life, he was actually excited for the new school year to begin. His next-door neighbors, Nurin and Assur, had been inseparable ever since their reunion at the Effingham Hospital 2 months earlier. They even appeared 10 years younger. However, it was unclear whether it was due to the healing powers of the flame of life or just simply due to their rekindled happiness together. The newly reunited couple stayed with Maha, Darren, Adam, and Lake in Effingham for a couple of weeks. Once they were convinced Maha and Darren fully recovered, they returned to North Dakota for a few more weeks. Assur loved seeing the old mountain home again, but last night they had just arrived back in Belvedere. Gone were the days of Verona, needing to coax Lincoln out of bed. Most days, he beat her to the breakfast table, excited for the day and the day's new adventures. Today he yelled, "Verona, get up!" as he ran past her room on his way to the breakfast table. And, of course, there was something about the way he said it that made Verona jump right out of bed. At breakfast, Jillian suggested she could drive the kids to school on their first day, and then she would start preparing her food truck for the lunch rush. Verona smiled and thought it was a great idea, but Lincoln quickly spoke up and said, "No, I want to take the bus." Verona shot a surprised look at Lincoln. His mother, however, responded, "Well, I guess that settles that." She took some pictures of her new 4th and 7th graders, and then gave them kisses as she sent them on their way. When they opened the door, they were surprised to see Assur and Nurin on the front porch. Lincoln shrieked loudly and ran to give the Moon Woman a big hug. He yelled, "I discovered my talent!" Nurin smiled, playfully rubbed her ears a little, and responded, "Why, yes, and I think I can guess what it is." Then she gave him a knowing wink. Verona hugged Assur, telling him, "It's great to see you both. I've missed you." Assur thanked her for tending to his fire. Assur had decided to keep the fire burning in his fireplace, even though Assur had now become the true flame of life, thanks to Lake's help. The fire in the great fireplace was now only an insurance policy. The old couple had returned home the night before and had immediately got to work. That morning, Assur was helping Nurin make the place homier. They had already started on some home decorations inside, and now Nurin was hanging some wind chimes on the porch, while Lasur was installing a sun-shaped door knocker on his newly painted yellow front door. As Lincoln was catching the Moon Woman and the Keeper of the Flame up on all the happenings of his summer break, Verona jumped with surprise when a young woman walked out of her neighbor's home, holding a hammer and a new box of nails. Nurin promptly said, "Verona and Lincoln, I would like you to meet the newest member of our family. This is Mega." Not understanding what was happening, Verona just stared at the pretty teenager with a puzzled look. Nurin quickly tried to fill in the blanks. "Our little Lakey told us about the sweet girl who needed help. She was suddenly and tragically orphaned." Nurin's voice broke a little, but she pulled it together and smiled again. "Mega was injured, and it just so happened that she was in the hospital a couple of rooms down from Maha and Darren. When she recovered, she needed a place to stay. So we talked to a nice man named Carl, who works in healthcare and family services, and now she is living with us." Lincoln thrust his hand toward her and cheerfully exclaimed, "Hi, I'm Lincoln, and I live right there." He tilted his head towards his front door. Verona still looked to be in some shock. She wasn't easily surprised, and the feeling made her a bit uncomfortable. She just nodded, as if she was starting to absorb the information. Mega took 2 steps forward, closing the gap between the 2 girls, and spoke in a gentle voice, instantly putting Verona at ease. "Verona, it is so nice to finally meet you. I feel like I already know you because everyone has told me so much about you. Adam can't shut up about you." She leaned in a little more and whispered, "He really likes you." This brought a smile to Verona's face, but it faded when she silently wondered why Adam had never mentioned Mega to her. Verona offered her hand, and the 2 girls shook. Then Verona said, "Ah, yes, it's nice to meet you." She looked around and then glanced at her watch. "Well, we better get going or we're going to miss the bus." As the siblings walked to the bus stop, Lincoln asked, "How do you think Adam and Lake are doing?" Verona's confidence was shaken by the discovery of the young girl. At that moment, she wished she was able to read Adam's mind, but nevertheless, she believed she knew exactly how and what Adam and Lake were doing because the 12-year-old girl and the just-turned teenage boy had spent all summer on the phone together. Every single day that entire summer, they would talk for hours about everything under the sun. Usually, Adam would talk or just stay on the phone until Verona eventually fell asleep. Then Adam would softly whisper, "Good night," before hanging up. Just last night, they watched the entire movie, Star Wars, A New Hope, together, while hundreds of miles apart. Verona told Lincoln, "They are both doing great. Their parents are both fully recovered, and their family has spent the summer making up for lost time. Asur and Nurin told their daughter that they had only split because they believed it was the right thing to do at the time. But now they have decided against it. Their family is happier than ever, and apparently growing in size," she thought. The bus heading to Washington Elementary arrived, and before Lincoln got on, Verona turned to her little brother and said, "I'm proud of you." Lincoln didn't exactly know what she was talking about, but instead of questioning her, he just smiled and waved as he ran up the steps of the bus. Verona nervously waved back, thinking about the bullies who were soon coming. But then she reminded herself that Lincoln had just stood up to undead monsters from the underworld. Verona whispered under her breath, so no one else waiting for the junior high bus could hear, Those creeps don't stand a chance. Lincoln said hello to some new friends that lived in his neighborhood that he had met over the summer before sitting down. A few stops later, Aaron Goodman, Billy Crump, and Donnie Powers whirled onto the bus like a tornado of mayhem. They sat down directly behind Lincoln, immediately noticing Verona was not there to protect him. This is going to be easy, thought Aaron. But Lincoln seemed cool, calm, and collected. The hoodlums stopped laughing just long enough for Aaron to menacingly shout, "Hey, Stinkin'!" He was, of course, making a very unoriginal and lame play on words, referring to Lincoln. "Hey, Stinkin', you're going to help us have fun this year, aren't you?" Lincoln did not respond. Then Aaron pushed the fourth grader in the back and said, "Stinkin' Lincoln, I asked you a question." Lincoln confidently turned around and, with a very strong and commanding voice, said, "You three are bullies. You always seek out and pick on those who you think are weaker than you are. You will find out that I am not weaker than you. Unless you three would like to be my friends, you will leave me alone. In fact, the three of you will not bully anyone in my presence ever again. If I hear that any of you are bullying anyone, you will have to deal with me and my friends. And I promise you, you won't like that. But if you can be good, we will not have a problem. Do I make myself clear?" When Lincoln stopped talking, the entire bus erupted in applause. The three bullies looked around, calculating that they no longer outnumbered Lincoln. They appeared to be the ones who were heavily outnumbered. Besides, based on the way Lincoln spoke, they no longer felt like he was someone they wanted to mess with. The three boys quietly sat down, and a couple of older kids from the back of the bus yelled, "Yeah, and stay down." Meanwhile, in the worthy household, a television weatherman was warning of severe weather coming to Effingham. Maha commented, I was just telling Darren how beautiful the summer has been, and that I couldn't remember the last storm we ever had." Adam and Lake just looked at each other and sighed. In the middle of the weather report, Adam and Lake heard the familiar chime for breaking news. The anchorman asked, "Is America on the brink of war?" Lake turned and looked at the TV. A man standing just outside a black metal fence reported, "I'm here in Washington, D.C. Just over my shoulder is the famed White House Rose Garden, the site of last night's gala celebrating the newly signed Middle East Peace Accord agreed upon just 1 month ago. The guest list who's a who's who in global politics. Many of the world's most important leaders, diplomats, and dignitaries were in attendance. The event was going as planned until an unexpected lightning storm forced the festivities to move inside. We have confirmed that shortly after the party relocated indoors, the president was injured in what the Secret Service is calling an attempt on her life. Secret Service and FBI agents are reportedly conducting interviews with all the guests of the gala. The vice president put out a short statement saying, quote, "We do not know enough at this point, but the authorities are looking into it." When further pressed, he admitted, "If it is learned that a foreign country is behind this attack, the United States will consider it an act of war." The White House is saying that the president's injuries are not life-threatening, and she is resting comfortably at an undisclosed location. We are trying to get confirmation, but eyewitnesses are saying the president suffered what appeared to be large lacerations on her back. Channel 5 will report more details once they become available. As the reporter was signing off, Lake spotted something just over his shoulder, off in the distance, and something that would cause the Keeper's new army to reunite in the coming days. In the rose bushes, Lake noticed a large figure, almost completely hidden in the shadows. A chill traveled up her spine when she saw its bright, yellow eyes.